that motorcycle might have a lot of speed, but it really has very little protection. These guys super trained for this type of thing. Very little that that motorcycle can do to stop that vehicle, but he definitely could be there when it comes to an end, whatever that may be. That car hopefully just stopping on its own, possibly running out of gas. But this continues on out here. It's over the air. Excuse me. The sheriff's department in the air over this pursuit. Multiple police agencies on the ground. This person continues to elude everybody. Luckily, thankfully, no injuries to anybody involved at this time, but this pursuit continues on now, as I believe we are right next to the Evergreen Cemetery, and we're working our way southbound, paralleling the 710 freeway. Safer. And we'll get Northside Drive. We're on Northside Drive right now, a very residential neighborhood. A lot of curves out here. An interesting residential neighborhood as it has that center medium. Stop sign right there, and another car just turning. Look, you can see those people swerving out of the way to avoid collisions with this suspect. Look at that, cutting off a bicyclist right there as we were weaving through this residential neighborhood. These streets getting tighter and tighter out here. You can see that helicopter. Sheriff's Department. Look at that bright night sun, keeping that area lit up, keeping that area, warning the other people what's going on. For some reason, this suspect now slowing down as he's hitting those deep dips. We saw earlier on he had no regard for that. Now he's starting to slow down. Kind of makes you wonder, is that vehicle starting to fail? Hopefully it is. Hopefully it'll bring this to an end. Really straight streets out here. Looks like this is the first time we've seen this suspect make a block. He's coming westbound on Whittier directly below us here. We're going to come right around. We're going to follow it. This is pretty much the view of the Sheriff's Department as that observer looks out that window and keeps an eye on this suspect. This is basically right below us right now. We're going to do a little bit of a tumble. Don't worry. Sure thing. What city are we in? We're in Montebello. We're on Beverly. Beverly is the street that we're on right now in Sorry about that, a little confusion there. We're in Montebello. We're over Montebello right now. This vehicle on Beverly. And you know, he's been talking about speeds of up to 80 miles an hour at some points. Again, wrong side of the road. Look at the traffic out here, and you can see officers are starting to get the word. Montebello PD definitely in the area. They are starting to block off intersections for public safety. Not trying to box this guy in. He is a suspect. You can see that one, a California Highway Patrol vehicle, that heavy SUV, getting right behind him there. They are definitely want to bring this to an end, but they are very pit maneuver, and they probably will. Of course, they're going to assess the safety level, but they want to bring this guy. They want to bring this to an end. They want that suspect in custody, and they want to bring it to an end before somebody gets hurt. Suspect and/or the civilian. Another solid red there. We're getting into a very tight area out here. A lot of stores still in the Montebello area. You can see that now he's starting to pick up a little bit of speed, and it's really the traffic working in his favor this evening, which is so bizarre. You can see that white vehicle behind it right there. That is another California Highway Patrol vehicle. But this vehicle, when he sees the suspect, when they see when he sees those flashing reds and blues, he really starts to move out. Usually about 80 miles an hour. That's the highest number that I've heard them talk about since we've been over it. Wrong side of the road right now, passing a big rig that's parked, and this pursuit continues out here as we're working our way out of the Montebello area, but we're continuing on. We're going to be back in the Whittier area here shortly. That's what I'm hearing. And the 45 to 60 miles an hour. Solid red. Copy. southbound on Rosemead. Well, you know, they won't tell us their strategies, but we've been watching enough of these, and it is California Highway Patrol really starting to close that gap, and they are in numbers behind him. We're southbound on Whittier, and then we're Whittier from Garfield, and you can see solid red right there. Solid red, no traffic, thank goodness, and this vehicle is kind of slowing down. Earlier on, he was basically 60 to 80. Now they're saying 45 to 60. So that vehicle slowing down, that suspect may be trying to formulate some plan, maybe, hopefully, just saying, you know what, maybe I'll just pull it over and just give this up before somebody gets hurt. You can see where that one California Highway Patrol Ford Expedition, the specially designed units for the California Highway Patrol, lower center of gravity, and these vehicles designed for those pit maneuvers, designed for high speeds. And also the driver behind that vehicle of that California Highway Patrol, same thing. He trained for high-speed driving. That suspect, probably not so much. And he continues to do these high-speed maneuvers, desperate maneuvers as he swerves, turns, brakes hard, and goes on the wrong side of the road. This continues onwards, just continuing now southbound on Rosemead, and it's a little bit slower, and you can see the vehicles have changed up now. That black and white SUV was the one that was the primary. Now that white one is the primary. Not sure if that's because they were doing a little bit of blocking of traffic as they were trying to get the other officers' vehicles through those red light intersections safely, or if that other vehicle has some sort of pit maneuver. But we can see right now our question has been answered. The black and white California Highway Patrol right behind him again. He really is closing that gap, and they might be talking about doing a pit maneuver now. We haven't heard that word, and we wouldn't want to give anything away to that suspect if he could possibly somehow get the information from us. He probably can't, but definitely this pursuit continues on, one of the longest ones we've seen in a long time. Desperate situations, armed suspect, double carjacking as we understand it, and possibly this may be the third vehicle that's been being pursued by officers this afternoon, as the first one was a stolen vehicle, the second, and also that unusual suspect that came out of that vehicle, that female earlier on. Vehicle was in a residential area, slowed down, he actually came to a stop, and then that passenger exited the vehicle. Not clear if officers took her into custody. We do know it was a female. We don't know if it was a suspect or possibly a carjacking victim. Working our way into Downey. Looks like a pit. Looks like a pit. Oh, whoa, whoa. Oh, now you know that was not the plan that they had for that suspect. Right there, he CC'd into a civilian vehicle. The door popped open, but nobody's jumped out. That vehicle definitely came to a stop out here. We're very close to Downey. We understand that they were just about to tell the Downey officers they were heading that way. You can see the officers. They're basically southbound Lakewood. Southbound Lakewood is where we're talking about. There he is, suspect. He's got the gun in his air and he's shooting in the air. It looks like we saw two muzzle flashes as this suspect is running with that weapon in his hand. This suspect running southbound now through what we're looking at is a shopping mall area. He did shoot. He did shoot into the air a couple of times. We're keeping an eye on that awning. We want to try to move a little bit to the south. Unsure if he's keep coming around, John. And we're not sure if he ran into that restaurant or he was inside that awning. As I understand it, he ran inside this Chris and Pitts. Incredible. People getting outside of the store right now. You can see people coming out of the store. You can, the restaurant. Can just imagine what kind of panic is going on inside that restaurant right now. You can see people running outside. Officers taking them, talking to them, getting them to safety. This person is armed. We saw him. Believe that he shot at least twice in the air as he was running. This is a Chris and Pitts off of Lakewood Boulevard. You can see officers from the California Highway Patrol swarming this right now. Very, very unusual and frightening for anybody for anybody in the area inside that building. We have other people coming out the back. You can see officers. They're watching every exit right now, as we are as well, unsure what this suspect's plan is. But we did see him shoot shoot that gun at least twice. He has a weapon in his hands. Ran into a restaurant here off of Lakewood Boulevard. Right now, we saw a couple of people come outside, but just if you count the number of vehicles around this restaurant, you just got to be wondering what's going on inside that restaurant right now. What are those people thinking? You've got wait staff, you've got patrons. This is a very, very tense situation for sure. Nope. We have armed officers at pretty much at every corner of this restaurant. We continue to watch as people come out of that restaurant, most of them dressed as wait staff. You can see those aprons, those red T-shirts, those hats that they need to wear. And no officers ran inside that restaurant after that suspect. But you can see right now, Sheriff's Department, these are SWAT officers. You can K-9 obviously right there as well, specially trained for this type of situation. Unsure if they are just going to go ahead and make entry into that restaurant and try to subdue that suspect, and or maybe this may turn out to be a waiting game, as we've seen so often in the past. I can tell you officers from the California Highway Patrol and the Sheriff's Department out here in force this evening. We did see one person that clearly was not a worker, an employee of this restaurant, one of the first ones to come out of the restaurant. Then we saw some other ones starting to pop out of the front area. And in the back, we saw some of the restaurant people coming out of the back as well, being taken into safety areas by the officers that are around this restaurant right now. Cool. Kids. Well, you can see these very desperate people coming out. A small child, elderly woman inside that restaurant. Other patrons coming out, putting their hands up almost as quickly as they get outside the door. Officers from the California Highway Patrol working with some other wait staff that are coming out the door. Look at this. Look at this. Families. These are families inside that restaurant. It just makes you wonder what was going through these people's minds, especially like the gentleman. You're there. You're with your family. You are the patron of your family. You want to protect them. Man comes in with a weapon, obviously in a desperate situation. This could have gone very, very south. We don't know what exactly is going on in there right now, but I can tell you that you can see these people coming out very scared, very high tension. Officers from the California Highway Patrol, weapons drawn as they keep an eye on that front door. This person who ran inside, possibly allowing these people to leave right now, and or maybe they're just making their exit as they're figuring out what's going on. This is all to be determined later on. Can tell you though, very scary moments. I can feel the tension as that door pops open. You don't know if it's going to be a suspect with a weapon or it's going to be a child coming out of that restaurant. Very scary to see. It is obviously a family restaurant. We saw many children coming out of this. Look at this, another large family coming out. Children, adults. This is undescribable to think what must have been going on inside that restaurant as this person ran in there with that weapon. We know he was shooting in the air earlier on. Look at the number of people inside that restaurant. We could tell just from the number of cars in the parking lot that this restaurant had a lot of people inside. That door closing very, very slowly. Officers from the California Highway Patrol, Sheriff's Department, all down there with their weapons out, and they're starting to make a plan to get inside that restaurant. Obviously, they're going to start talking to a lot of these people. They're basically filing them all out. They are going to talk to every one of these people, trying to put together exactly what that suspect's doing or what is going on inside that restaurant. Door opening again. We see more people exiting the restaurant. Another couple right there. The Sheriff's Department, quick reaction out here. We saw some heavily armed deputies with the K-9 unit. Were they in the area? Was it planned? Not sure. You can see another extremely tense and excited employee there running out, going pretty much the wrong direction. I'm sure the officers will be corralling her and bringing her to the point where they're bringing all the people that were inside that restaurant. So you just got to wonder what was going on inside that restaurant when this person came running in with a weapon. I'm sure many of these people, it was probably hard to process. You're looking at this thinking, is this really a guy with a gun? What is going on? Right now, though, it seems a little bit static once again. Not sure if he allowed all these people out of the restaurant. I'm pretty sure that's what was going on. But the officers from the California Highway Patrol Sheriff's Department, they want this person in custody right now inside that restaurant, completely surrounded. 2 helicopters overhead. You've got the Sheriff's Department with the deputies inside that helicopter and the California Highway Patrol helicopter. Both of them overhead. 4 sets of eyes, keeping an eye on what's going on down there, keeping this perimeter very, very tight, and then you can see the number of officers around that building. All of these officers very intent, very highly trained and focused right now to keep anybody safe and also make sure that that suspect does not escape. He's pretty much locked down inside this Crescent Pits, like you said, Downey area, right off of Lakewood Boulevard. Dramatic ending to a pursuit. That suspect firing his weapon into the air. We did hear the officers from the California Highway Patrol call out. Shots fired, shots fired. We believe that we saw that muzzle flash from the helicopter when that suspect was running. Unclear what his plan was there as he was just shooting up into the air. Right now, though, taking refuge inside a Crescent Pits restaurant. This restaurant seemed to have been full of families this evening when this suspect runs in with that weapon. Right now, we saw a lot of people come out unsure if there's still any civilians inside that restaurant. You know, that's definitely part of their part of the plan for them. I'm sure more likely they are going to be talking to all those patrons inside that restaurant and get a description of what happened. Where did this person go? What did he say? What was his What was his demeanor? And they're going to talk to every one of those people. They're going to do some cross-referencing probably, and then they're going to get an idea if that person stayed inside that restaurant. If he's going to take a hostage, they're probably finding out right now what's going on. We did see most of the people that came out of the restaurant are now across the street. We do see a lot of cell phones being used, a lot of people like holding their heads and shaking their heads, and obviously getting hold of loved ones and telling people that, you know, that anybody that may know that, you know, we are okay. Obviously, social media playing a big part in this as well. People starting to take pictures of the restaurant as they're outside that restaurant right now, that Chris and Pitt's out here in the Downey area. We haven't seen any doors open up since that last group of family has come out of there. You can see some of the officers now in a very tight spot over there, very dangerous area. We know that there is a door in that alleyway between these two buildings. We did see some of the employees come out of that area. So, you know, this person armed, this person extremely dangerous and extremely desperate. Doors opening up again. We got some more people. You just got to kind of wonder why they're coming out in groups. And you can see more people working their way out. Now, again, this is very unconfirmed information, and it's one of those things where we have to be responsible as persons of the news. But right now, we understand that they might actually even have eyes on that suspect or an actual location of that suspect. So we're going to stay a little bit wider as this may be coming to an end. Unclear exactly what's going to be happening here, but we're hearing that they possibly saw that suspect or actually physically have eyes on that suspect as this person's still inside that restaurant right now. Copy. Well, right now I can tell you California Highway Patrol is probably the lead agency on this termination of this pursuit in the Lakewood area. We also know that the Sheriff's Department out here in force. I also believe that this vehicle right there that says police on the side, I believe that's going to be a Downey Police Department, because we are now in the city of Downey. So these are the units, these are the officers that are right now. It's going to be a joint task force as they are surrounding this Chris and Pitts out here off of Lakewood Boulevard in the Downey area. Now, all these officers and more. Let me get a little bit wider out here. As you can see, other officers still making their way to this scene. Now, these are all extremely highly trained professionals, and right now they are focused, like mind-blowingly focused on their task at hand to get these people out safely and get that suspect into custody. I can tell you that the officers from the aircraft above us, now that's going to be both the Sheriff's Department and also the California Highway Patrol. They have 2 helicopters over this right now, and they actually have just reiterating to all the units on the ground, meaning all these officers that are down there right now. They're giving out a suspect description, and they're also telling these officers that this is an armed and dangerous suspect that has done 2 carjackings in the past. So they are really kind of driving that fact home, that they need to be extremely cautious about taking this suspect into custody. Chris and Pitts, obviously a very popular place out here in the Downey area, as we see numbers of families, which is just almost heart-wrenching, but also enlightening to see that these families came out safely. We saw small children, elderly women, and families all coming out of this restaurant, and also not to mention a number of wait staff and other people that are employed at this restaurant working their way out. Now, officers on the ground have been stalking back and forth. They believe they have an idea where this suspect is inside that restaurant, and or they can actually see him. That's unclear to us right now, but we do know that they believe that they have this suspect at least cornered, as this standoff now is continuing out here in the in the Downey area. Well, Elsa and Susie, we saw that last gentleman leaving the restaurant right there. Kind of makes you wonder how much time has lapsed since that suspect ran into this restaurant, and there's still, it seems to be, patrons exiting the building. Makes you wonder if that suspect might be inside there, maybe doing some sort of hostage situation, maybe allowing some people to go. Why would you want to stay inside that restaurant if you knew there was a man with a gun inside the restaurant with you? So kind of unusual to see another person leaving the building this late in the game. We can tell you that the Sky 9, we've been over this since almost the beginning of that pursuit, and right now we can stay overhead keeping an eye on this for about 60 minutes. More is our fuel time up here until we're going to have to go off and get some fuel. Officers from all the agencies involved, their helicopters, they'll be swapping out. I'm sure those guys on the ground, they're not so concerned about fuel. They're just concerned about safety. They're concerned about the safety of their fellow officers, and they're concerned about the safety of any of the civilians that may still be inside. And then obviously, lastly, they are concerned about the safety of that suspect. They do not want to see this come to an end with somebody being shot, the suspect and or an officer, or anybody for that matter. You can see the officers down there. They are highly trained. They are those officers in that corner, highly armed and with body armor and also weapons. So they have this building surrounded right now. This is the last place that they saw that suspect. That car crash not that far up the road. California Highway Patrol doing that pit maneuver, sending that car into a spin, and then crashing into somebody's car. That guy jumps out and then goes ahead and got out, jumped out. First thing we saw, put his hand in the air, looked like he had a weapon. We saw muzzle flashes, and then we saw officers saying, "Shots fired, shots fired." And that suspect basically made a run, saw this restaurant, ran inside, and that's where we sit right now. No, that's not the suspect. That's just another person walking out of the restaurant this evening, and it just makes you, like I said earlier on, it makes you wonder what the delay is, why these people are still inside the restaurant. You can see that person talking with officers right there. I believe those are deputies from the sheriff's department, probably just giving a quick briefing, saying this is what this guy said, this is his demeanor, this is where he went, where he was inside the restaurant. Those are the type of questions that they're going to be asking him, and that's the information that they need to know so they can figure out what his person might be thinking, possibly his frame of mind. Another thing to mention is there is a numerous amount of agencies out here. California Highway Patrol, Sheriff's Department, and Downey PD. So those are three departments that we know of that are here on scene. Three different training techniques, three different very separate entities. So they all have to work together right now this evening, and that makes it for a dangerous situation for the officers involved. They don't want to put themselves, what they say, in the line of fire, meaning put themselves opposite of each other. So they got to make sure any of these officers move. They have to make sure all the other two agencies at least know that one agency is making a move, or they have officers in that area. What we're looking at right there, that's going to be the sheriff's department. Now, we did see those guys earlier on. They got here so quick. Amazing to see. That's one of their vehicles right there, that K9 vehicle. Those are heavily armed, highly trained officers for this type of situation. And I'm not sure if they're actually putting together a plan to make entry into this building, especially with this armed suspect who just recently ran inside. And then, of course, we don't know if there's any other patrons inside that restaurant, any more people, civilians that may be inside there. So they're going to wait till they make sure that everybody is outside of that restaurant before they actually do anything, unless that suspect makes the first move. That could possibly be. There's a door over here on the side of the back side of the building. You can see that is open right there. Believe that leads into the kitchen. We saw some kitchen staff exiting that area earlier on when that suspect first ran into this restaurant. This happening in the Downey area. We're right off of Lakewood. We know that there is a large amount of people that were inside the restaurant. They're all right there. It's still very close to the scene. You can see a lot of people still their eyes basically focused on that restaurant. A lot of people on their cell phones, probably talking to loved ones, making sure that they know that they're safe. But right now, this is a standoff situation after a long pursuit and then a pit maneuver with a crash. All right, copy. Thank you. John, what was that? Okay. Well, we're more in a holding pattern than before. We're being told that we need to keep our shots a little bit more wider. We can't show anything too dramatic right now. They don't know if that suspect might actually have access to a television inside that restaurant. So we need to really start worrying about officer safety ourselves. So we're going to stay with a little bit of a wider shot. Of course, if something dramatic happens, we will push in extremely quickly. This is going to be the Chris and Pitts at the in the Downey area off of Lakewood Boulevard, right next to the freeway. They're saying that we saw that suspect run in there earlier on this afternoon after a pursuit and then a crash. That suspect armed with a weapon. Since that suspect ran inside that restaurant, we have seen multiple people coming outside, young children, elderly people, families, and then of course people that are employed at this restaurant. Earlier on, they were running out as soon as we saw those doors pop open and people running out of the restaurant. After that, we saw large groups coming out in packs, and then it still continues on as they keep moving slowly coming out of that restaurant. We also know that we can tell you that the off-ramp here at Lakewood has been closed because of the police activity in the area. And then we also can tell you that the Sheriff's Department's still bringing in tactical people, specially trained SWAT people. They're still waiting on some extra people to show up here to basically make sure and back up the officers that are here. It's for safety reasons. They want to make sure they have as much firepower as it would be, and also manpower to make sure that that they take this person into custody, and then also they want to make sure that there are no other people still inside that restaurant. All those people that have come outside the restaurant, they've taken across the street. There's a large number of them right there, right behind one of those, I believe that's actually a Downey PD vehicle. Also, some of them are in other locations in the area. We saw the officers from the Sheriff's Department basically on the last couple of people that have come out, described only as elderly males. As soon as they came out, they were quickly brought over to some officers and questions were asked. Unclear exactly what they were asking, but I could imagine the questions are going to be, is the guy armed? What's his state of mind? Where is he in the building? Things like that. So they really want to narrow this down. They want to bring this to an end. The suspect, extremely desperate. We've seen that. We watched that crazy pursuit. Extremely high speeds, extremely dangerous maneuvers, and then at the end there was that pit maneuver where we thought it was going to come to an end. That vehicle spun out, unfortunately crashed into a civilian vehicle, but then the door pops open, nobody came out. There was a little bit of a standoff, and then that suspect jumps out, gun in the air, firing shots as he's running away from officers, ran into this restaurant. It must have been high tension for all those officers involved. And then those people that are inside that restaurant, those families, you can only wonder what was going through their minds. Is this for real? What's going on? I don't know if any other people have been in those situations. I actually kind of sort of have. And it takes a moment for your brain even to process, what is this real? Is this really happening? So, and then when it does, then you got to start thinking, my family's in here. I've got to protect my family. So there must have been a lot of high tension, a lot of angst inside that restaurant this evening with those patrons. Fortunately, as we've been seeing, a lot of them have gotten out to safety. But it's unclear if perhaps there still is a person inside there with that suspect who is armed. Officers still continue to funnel in from the Sheriff's Department and also California Highway Patrol, Downey PD here as well. As I'm getting even wider for officer safety, but you can get an idea. You can see all those reds and blues down there. Those are all the officers' vehicles. Some of them even have their lights and sirens off. So there are a number of officers out here. 2 helicopters were up here earlier on. The Sheriff's Department stayed. California Highway Patrol had to move off for fuel, but this suspect still remains at large inside this Chris and Pitts. Yeah, I see the flashing lights behind. Looks like a closed business. Yeah, I think so. I think they're going to make. I think SWAT's just going to go in there. Yeah, they're like right up against that door. Well, yeah, I do care, but yeah, making contact, have eyes on him. Maybe. I'm just telling you that I'm hearing them talk about it, that the officers have eyes on him and possibly making hang on. There's such long pauses between their communications. He's possibly near that back door, and it's unclear. I mean, now Mark's going to tell me not to do this. Go ahead. Long Beach? Long Beach. Long Beach. Long Beach. And we have 40 minutes on station. 40 minutes on station. I'm wondering if he's not down because they're pretty laxed. Maybe he took himself out. Oh, they're drawing a map for the officers. Copy. Thank you. I need some water. I know. Copy. Well, Elsa, Susie, you know, us and the viewers, we've seen some dramatic things happen in the past couple of years. This one really is, again, one of those ones where you say, I can't believe what I'm seeing. That suspect jumping out of the vehicle and then firing in the air, those close calls with the pedestrians earlier on when that pursuit was still going, and then this suspect running into this restaurant, a family restaurant that was very crowded this evening. We saw numbers of families coming out with their hands up, clutching their children as they were exiting this restaurant that is surrounded right now by the Sheriff's Department, California Highway Patrol, and Downey PD. This restaurant on the corner of Lakewood and in the city of Downey. And I can tell you also 5 Freeway, Lakewood Boulevard. That off-ramp right now shut down because of the numerous officers still making their way out to this location. I understand that the California Highway Patrol is still the lead agency out here and pretty much the one that's taking the lead and controlling what's going on down there. As I get a little bit wider, you can see the number of officers down there, multiple agencies, multiple training techniques, and of course all these teams working together right now to keep people safe and themselves safe. And then of course they want to take that suspect into custody alive. But I can say that right now officers, really the Sheriff's Department, are the ones that are down there right now, and they are the closest to the action. They are the ones that are in that we saw earlier on that we can't show you anymore because of the tactical positions and where they are in that restaurant. But those heavily armed SWAT guys, those are going to be the Sheriff's Department. And we continually hear that they do have eyes on that suspect, and it's unclear what's going on for us right now. We have not heard that that suspect's in custody. We have not heard that word code 4. That's the universal police language for it's over. The guy is in custody. I can tell you that intersection out here right now completely shut down. Officers from all those departments out here in force. There are actually number more officers at a command post that they've set up north of the 5 Freeway on Lakewood Boulevard, about a block and a half. There's a huge amount of officers there as well. They are probably the command staff doing the coordination, trying to figure out how they're going to bring this to an end and what they're going to do. We haven't seen any LA County Fire Department or Downey Fire out here this afternoon. I'm not sure if they haven't been called as of yet, but I can show you this is not a tactical thing. You can see that SWAT truck right there, that heavily armored SWAT truck that we've seen on so many of these barricaded situations, now arriving here on scene as well. Earlier on, we saw K9 and also very highly trained officers from the deputies from the Sheriff's Department arriving out here with their weapons and also basically running into or towards that building, towards the danger. We saw the release of those families earlier on, that door popping open, and then you don't know what's going to come out. You don't Of course, and is sorry about that. But right now, we can tell you it's pretty much a waiting game. That door has not popped open in a while. Officers are down there, deputies are down there, and they are putting together a plan. And as you've mentioned earlier on too, they do believe they have a good idea where this suspect is, and they're probably going to try to make contact with that suspect very shortly. So 30? Okay. 30 minutes on scene. I'm not sure if those, I've been trying to listen on the scanner and the IFB at the same time. I think the Sheriff's Department made entry into the building. That's pretty much where I lost them. I don't know. I heard something about confirm the suspect description, and they want to get some officers maybe to ID him. So I'm not sure, but maybe it's over. I'm not sure though. Don't quote me on any of that. Go ahead. PV. Oh, PV is always scary for me. All right, we're into. Yeah, I think yeah. Right. Thirty minutes. 30 minutes. Copy. Sorry. Copy. Oh. Copy. Copy. All right, let me turn the scanner back up. So I just heard CHP saying that they're relinquishing command to the Sheriff's Department. Well, the sheriff was the one that was over it the entire time. Right. Hey, Simon Desk, go to Chris and Pitt's Yelp page. Go to Chris and Pitt's Yelp page. Standing by. I'm reading all my tweets, seeing if there's any info. Yeah. All right, copy that. Just talk about what we see, right? Copy. Well, we know that this restaurant is completely surrounded, and that suspect with a weapon ran inside this evening and has not come out as of yet. And, you know, that suspect is it's a very troubling situation for all the law enforcement involved. This suspect with a weapon, one of the deputies in the helicopter, Air 16, that's the sheriff's helicopter, actually saw this suspect carjack that last vehicle that we saw. So that suspect armed and willing to use force to take what he wants to get away from officers. So that all that kind of thought and mentality put into this pursuit this afternoon and into the evening, and we saw those desperate situations that this person was doing and those desperate moves that he made, and then to run inside a packed restaurant this evening with that weapon it really puts officers or all law enforcement at odds. They really don't want to rush inside that building right now. There may still be one person inside there, maybe a hostage, because this person person has shown in the past that he's willing to use force, and he is armed. So right now, it's kind of a holding pattern, like you've been saying, a standoff here in the Downey area, right off of Lakewood Boulevard. Chris and Pitts is the restaurant. Earlier on, we saw that suspect run inside, and he has not exited. What we did see, families, young people, old people, children, leaving that restaurant, clutching each other and running for safety into the arms of the law enforcement that was in the area, bringing those people to safety, and then obviously talking to them and trying to figure out exactly what was going on inside that restaurant. We, in the helicopter right now, only privy to what we can see. We don't know if they're making any kind of contact with that suspect, if they called him, if they talked to him, or anything like that. We do know that the Sheriff's Department is not playing around, obviously. They are bringing in all their tactical people right now, all their highly trained SWAT officers, and they are making their way to this location. Lakewood, off the 5 freeway, the off-ramp is closed right now for all this police activity. A lot of it that you see right here on Lakewood near the cross of Galveston, as we understand it. Also, a large command post on the other side of the 5 freeway. So officers are out here in numbers this evening. That suspect not in custody right now. Officers still on a heightened sense of alert. They are trained, they are focused, and they want to bring this to an end. All those people that we saw earlier on that came out of that restaurant now have dispersed. Unclear if they are with other family members, maybe came and picked them up. Maybe officers moved them more off to safety. You can see that intersection completely shut down. A lot of crime tape, a lot of looky-loos in the area as well. There's a shopping mall across the way, and right along that crime tape, you can see a number of people out here, pedestrians basically just kind of keeping an eye on what's going on. Officers are out here in the area trying to keep the public safe. This person is armed. Bullets do move quickly and very far, so they really want to keep all these civilians out of the area and at a safe distance. Officers obviously wearing body armor. They are protected, or more so protected than the civilians at large. Right now, suspect not in custody. Restaurant possibly does not have anybody but that suspect in it, but that still is a gray area, unclear, and that little bit of odds makes a big game changer. So officers out here, they really are at tense with their weapons drawn, waiting, planning how they're going to bring this to an end. Copy. Sky 9's safe. Yeah, I do. And then my answer to Mark's comment is there's a giant window right there. If the suspect looks out the window, he can see these officers. This is no big secret to him. I mean, I'm going to play the game. I'm respectful of all law enforcement, obviously, but I mean, come on. If they're in line of sight, it's not a tactical situation. Officers have told me that. Well, I'm pretty sure those guys went in. Yeah, but right. But if he was dead, they would have just came out and said it's over. But they would have. 30 away. Copy. $18 minutes. 18 minutes. 18 minutes, Rick. We got 18 minutes on station. 18. Wow, I've never seen that truck before. Woo! Oh my gosh. Sweet. Sweet. One of my cop friends is saying, and he's being serious about it, is he thinks that the guy came out with the first batch of customers. He's not joking either. Right, and then one of my sheriff's buddies is like, don't show any more tactical positions. And then Mark Lou says, no more showing tactical positions. No. We're doing the math. $12 minutes. We have 12 minutes on station. That is our hard out. 12 minutes. Working with the booth on that. Working with the booth on that. Stand by. Well, you know, an update is we still know this is an ongoing situation. I can tell you, friends and deputies have been getting a hold of me on social media in basically saying do not even show the restaurant anymore. There's a possibility that there may actually be a television inside that restaurant that may actually be on KCAL right now. So they are asking me, definitely do not show that restaurant, do not show any of that activity around the restaurant. I can show you right here, this is some of the response team and some of the officers, deputies, and California Highway Patrol, and this is also where this thing came to an end. That's the suspect vehicle right there. That car with the door open and the front end damage, that is the suspect vehicle that was pitted by a California Highway Patrol vehicle that crashed into a civilian vehicle. You can see it right there. It is a little dark, but that bumper is definitely off that vehicle, and obviously there's crime scene tape out here, and those two cars still sitting out here on Lakewood. After that accident, there was a pause. There was probably a good minute or two, maybe even 3, where that suspect sat inside that vehicle with that door open, because as soon as that car was in that accident, that door popped open, but nobody came out. Officers from the California Highway Patrol, first ones here on scene, right behind it, all weapons drawn, then kind of backed off a little bit as they were being told that was an armed suspect inside that vehicle. Then we saw that guy jump out and run. He ran over to that restaurant. Now that restaurant is completely surrounded by California Highway Patrol, Sheriff's Department, and also Downey PD. I'm going to go a little bit wider out here where you cannot see any of the tactical positions, but I can show you that corner and that restaurant. There's that helicopter flying around down low right there. That's the Sheriff's Department, and the Sheriff's Department is the ones that are basically handling this right now. They are the lead agency. They have the manpower and also the training and the tactical team. The SWAT department are out here in force right now surrounding that restaurant. It is unclear if all the patrons from that restaurant have gotten out. We did see a number of people leaving that restaurant earlier on in groups, and we did hear Erica talk about some of those heart-wrenching moments where families were separated as they were leaving the restaurant, not sure about what their loved ones are, what's going to happen to their loved ones inside the restaurant. We're hoping that everybody is out of that building right now, and the only person inside is that suspect. Officers right now have that restaurant surrounded, and they're probably trying to make contact with that suspect, and if they haven't, they will be trying to shortly. They want to bring this guy out. They want to bring him out alive, but right now it is such a tense situation. This obviously armed suspect willing to take huge risks, shooting his gun in the air, carjacking vehicles this afternoon, crashing, almost hitting hitting pedestrians, and now running into a full restaurant on an evening that was full of families. It is a very desperate situation for the officers, and then of course they just want everybody to be safe in the end. Even that suspect, they don't want to kill him, they don't want to take a life, they just want this to come to an end. But obviously the safety of the officers come first, then in the public is on the same plane, obviously, and then that suspect's well-being. So right now, that person at large inside the restaurant, officers, you can see the number of officers here, and these are just the ones by the restaurant. There's a command post about a block away, also with about the same number of officers. So they do have an army of deputies out here right now. As for that restaurant, we're not sure if it's been evacuated except for that suspect, and the waiting game is still ongoing. Five. Hang on, one of my sheriff's friends is texting me something. I got to read this. $8:55. My pilot says 8:55. We are out. Copy. Hey, I'm a product of the California high school system. I can't do math. I'm just playing. Copy. Yes, 2 minutes. Copy. Copy all. 20 away, copy. Well, we're kind of short on fuel out here, so this is going to be our last of our live updates for a little bit. We're going to get fuel and come right back. What we're showing you right here is Lakewood, where this pursuit came to an end. There's the suspect's vehicle, and you can see the number of officers on the street out here. This is not what it looked like when this came to an end. California Highway Patrol pitted that suspect. It spun out. It hit a civilian vehicle. It's right there. Then that suspect basically waited a few minutes and then ran into a Chris and Pitt's restaurant at the corner of Lakewood and Galveston here in the Downey area. What you're seeing right there is a number of officers from the Sheriff's Department, California Highway Patrol, and Downey PD that arrived out here on scene. Now, deputies and friends of mine on social media have been tweeting me to be really, really careful about showing the shot of the restaurant because of officer safety. And they believe that that suspect is still inside that restaurant and is still alive, and they may have some sort of access to a television, so we're going to keep it very, very wide. I can tell you, this restaurant completely surrounded. Officers from all those departments out here, heavily armed. They want to bring this to an end. They want to bring it to an end safely and take that suspect into custody. Copy. Copy. Copy, thank you. .211 TOC frequency 2. Hey there, we are running off to Long Beach for fuel. May we knock it down for the flight?